this video is not sponsored by WLMouse, even though I wish it was. Enjoy! A bit earlier this year, I decided it was finally time for me to upgrade my mouse. The brand new ULX mice by Finalmouse seemed like the most obvious choice, considering the brand reputation that Finalmouse has built up over time, making them the most popular gaming brand for mice overall. However, after reading a lot of mixed reviews about the earlier batches of the ULX mice, I started to have second thoughts. So while searching for an alternative that was sort of similar to a Finalmouse, I stumbled upon the Beast X by WLMouse. Now you may be asking, what exactly is a Beast X? Sounds like a rip-off Transformers from Walmart, right?
Alteration Man.
Let me assure you, it's not. It's something way better than that. This is the Beast X, a magnesium alloy mouse with roughly the same shape and size as the most popular ULX option, the Medium Lion. Initially, I found out about it while watching Apex Pro Zero and was immediately intrigued. At the time, I had a Logitech G Pro X Superlight. Definitely a good mouse on its own, and actually one of the most popular among the esports scene. Now, maybe it was just a manufacturing issue with my batch, but early on, my G Pro started to have connectivity issues and began to disconnect mid-match quite often. And that's pretty annoying. That, along with some mushy side buttons that had a lot of pre-travel, and a scroll wheel that would detect ghost inputs, it was time for a change. So I got curious and started to look into the Beast X, which seemed to have pretty good reviews in terms of performance and shape, considering it was extremely similar to the ULX shape. My only issue came from the fact that it was actually smaller than my G Pro. You see, the G Pro was actually the perfect size for my fairly large hands, and anything smaller would probably be a little bit too small for my liking. Now, if only the Beast X had a slightly bigger option, that would be my dream mouse. Well, surprise surprise, WLMouse announced the Beast X Max, the third and newest addition to their mouse lineup. You see, it's not really a surprise since it's in the title of the video, and I'm sure you knew that. This 42-gram magnesium alloy mouse shared its shape with the original Beast X, but was just larger in dimensions. It launched in multiple colorways, came with an 8K polling dongle, and it was among the first to use the new 3950 sensor after Razer's exclusivity deal had expired, meaning this thing offered a lot in a pretty small package, and you bet I bought it. So this is the box that the Beast X Max comes in. It's a very premium and elegant design, which honestly is always a good sign when you're spending so much on these peripherals. We open up the box to find a pair of PTFE skates that you can optionally put onto your mouse, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Next up is the carrying case that comes with the mouse. It's a hard shell case, which means it'll actually protect your mouse if you choose to take it away from your setup. To be fair, I'm not actually sure why you'd be taking your mouse places away from your setup, but you know. Now, placing that aside for a second, we have a little case for the user manual and other paperwork. And below that, we're given a really generous amount of grip tape for the mouse, which a lot of people love to use, but it's never really been my thing. Now, onto the main attraction, the Beast X Max. Inside the case, you're met with a little bit of foam padding, which reveals the mouse in all its beauty. In the same case, you'll also find the 1K dongle, the 8K dongle, and its corresponding cable. Now, that's about it for the unboxing. Overall, a really premium experience, with actually quite a few goodies that are included with the mouse. Now, let's talk about why I think this mouse is actually the best gaming mouse. Let's start off with the build quality. Boasting a magnesium shell, this thing is solid, as in no creaking or flexing even under substantial pressure. Compared to that of my G Pro, I think it's fair to say that it's a significant improvement. Now, I thought I'd quickly just mention this, but the build of the mouse does actually comprise of a lot of holes, which may not look great to a lot of people, and it does mean that you can actually poke your finger in there and pick up the mouse through it, and it kind of makes the mouse sort of see-through, but again, I think it's one of those personal preference things. If you don't mind the look of it, it's actually an amazing mouse. Personally, I love the way it looks. Now, this mouse does have a plastic bottom, but even after extensive testing, it's never caused me any issues, and it's definitely not something that you need to be worried about. In terms of the actual design of the mouse itself, I've noticed that the biggest gripe people have is the side cutouts on the mouse itself. People don't seem to like how they feel in the hand, which I think is fair enough. However, personally, I don't actually mind them. They line up perfectly with where my fingers would normally rest on the mouse and end up being more functional than you would think. Not the biggest deal, but something to keep in mind. In terms of the main buttons on the mouse, the Beast X Max actually offers two choices for its switches. You have the Omron opticals or the transparent black dot mechanical switches. My unit uses the former, the Omron opticals, just because they require a little bit less force to actuate, which makes it easier to spam click. And I just like the sound better than the actual mechanicals. The scroll wheel requires a little bit more force than what my G Pro needed, but personally that's a positive change for me, as I think the G Pro's wheel was a little bit too loose. The wheel button itself is quite clicky and responsive, with a pretty audible click for feedback. Now for the side buttons, which is something I was quite particular about considering the state of my G Pro's buttons. And I'm happy to say that this mouse's side buttons are absolutely amazing, with little to no pre-travel and a more than satisfactory clickiness and feedback. While they may be slightly on the smaller side, I also don't find this to be a massive issue and still don't think it's something to worry about. The Beast X Max comes pre-installed with these dot skates, which honestly are super smooth and feel great right out of the box. Definitely not bad for a stock option, but the smaller skates did offer less support at the front of the mouse, which combined with the way I grip my mouse caused the mouse to tilt forward sometimes. As a simple solution, I switched to using the PTFE skates that I mentioned slightly earlier, and I haven't had any issues since. This is one of those things that it's not entirely bad, it just depends on how you grip your mouse, which in the end is personal preference. So if you palm grip your mouse, then you probably won't have any issues with the dot skates, which I do think are the better skates that come with the mouse. Reason for that is because the PTFE skates are larger, they have more contact with the pad, meaning more friction, and it has a little bit more resistance when you're actually gaming, making it feel slightly heavier, even though it's really not. Again, personal preference, but just something to keep in mind. The last thing I should mention is the software for the mouse. Now initially when I bought the mouse, I had to install their proprietary software and use an app directly on my PC to control the settings of the mouse. However, since then, WL Mouse has announced a new web driver, meaning there's no need for you to download any software to actually control the settings anymore. Software is extremely simple, it's literally just plug and play and the WebDriver will detect the mouse immediately. I definitely think that WebDrivers are the correct choice for driver software, and definitely the main choice that tech companies should be using going forward. I'll also quickly mention that while this mouse can go up to 8K polling and run stable on a lot of optimized games like Apex, Overwatch, and the finals, I did find some compatibility issues with some games that maybe aren't as optimized as these AAA games, or maybe older games or modded versions of some games. So I've been running at 4000 Hz, still an extremely high polling rate and definitely better than the 1000 that the G Pro offered. So while quite expensive, I think that the Beast X Max offers an amazing alternative to the standard Finalmouse ULX line. There are little to no negative points about this mouse that I could really find, aside from the possible uncomfortability from the side cutouts and the dot skates providing a little bit less support at the front than I would have preferred, but again, those are entirely personal preference and it just comes down to you. It doesn't actually affect the performance of the mouse in any way. To be fair, I'm coming from quite a bad mouse with actually a lot of defects in it, but I think that really just highlights the quality that WL Mouse really has put into the Beast X Max. Obviously, I'm not a tech YouTuber and I don't have all the stats to back me up on this, but through all of my testing, I haven't felt any performance issues whatsoever. If you are looking for more stats and stuff, go check out Optimum and Bad Seed Tech. They're some of my inspirations for tech and I get a lot of my peripherals advice from them, especially my keyboard, which we might talk about in a later video. In the end, I'll say this. For anyone with medium to large hands looking for a lightweight, premium gaming mouse with good software, 8K polling, and an overall great build to back it all up, then the Beast X Max is definitely the mouse for you. If you're interested in any of the mice that I spoke about today, including the Beast X Max, then I'll leave links to all of them down below the like button. All I know is I won't be replacing this thing anytime soon. Forgive it,